Hey guys, it's Jasper, and today I'm going to be reading another chapter from The Princess and the Barcode, apparently. Just kidding. Princess and the Goblin. Pairing with today's reading, I will be having, can anyone guess? Can you guess it? Can you guess it? Did you guess it yet? Coffee! As always, pour yourself something yummy to drink, relax, enjoy, and cheers. The terror she was in had quite bewildered her. It was true enough that they had lost their way. They had been running down into a little valley in which there was no house to be seen. Now Irene did not know what good reason there was for her nurse's terror, for the servants had all strict orders never to mention the goblins to her. But it was very discomposing to see her nurse in such a fright. Before, however, she had time to grow thoroughly alarmed like her, she heard the sound of whistling, and that revived her. Presently, she saw a boy coming up the road from the valley to meet them. He was the whistler. But before they met, his whistling changed to singing, and this is something like what he sang. Ring, dod, bang, go the hammers clang, hit and turn and bore, whiz and puff and roar. Thus we rive the rocks, force the goblin locks, see the shining ore. 1, 2, 3, bright as gold can be. 4, 5, 6, shovels, mattocks, picks. 7, 8, 9, light your lamp at mine. 10, 11, 12, loosely hold the helve. We're the merry miner boys, make the goblins hold their noise. I wish you would hold your noise, said the nurse rudely, for the very word goblin at such a time and in such a place made her tremble. It would bring the goblins upon them to a certainty, she thought, to defy them in that way. But whether the boy heard her or not, he did not stop his singing. 13, 14, 15, this is worth the siftin'. 16, 17, 18, there's the match, the Leighton. 19, 20, goblins in plenty. Do be quiet, cried the nurse in a whispered shriek. But the boy, who was now close at hand, still went on. Hush, scush, scurry, there you go in a hurry. Gobble, gobble, goblin, there you go a-wobblin'. Hobble, hobble, hobblin', cobble, cobble, cobblin'. Hob, hob, goblin, ha, ha. There, said the boy, as he stood opposite them. There, that'll do it for them. They can't bear singing, and they can't stand that song. They can't sing themselves, for they have no more voice than a crow, and they don't like other people to sing. The boy was dressed in miner's dress, with a curious cap on his head. He was a very nice-looking boy, with eyes as dark as the mines in which he worked, and as sparkling as the crystals in their rocks. He was about 12 years old. His face was almost too pale for beauty, which came of his being so little in the open air and the sunlight, for even vegetables grown in the dark are white. But he looked happy, merry indeed, perhaps at the thought of having routed the goblins, and his bearing as he stood before them had nothing clownish or rude about it. I saw them, he went on, as I came up, and I'm very glad I did. I knew they were after somebody, but I couldn't see who it was. They won't touch you as long as I'm with you. Why? Who are you? Asked the nurse, offended at the freedom with which he spoke to them. I'm Peter's son. Who's Peter? Peter the miner? I don't know him. I'm his son, though. And why should the goblins mind you, pray? Because I don't mind them. I'm used to them. What difference does that make? If you're not afraid of them, they're afraid of you. I'm not afraid of them. That's all. But it's all that's wanted up here, as is. It's a different thing down there. They won't always mind that song even down there. And if anyone sings it, they stand grinning at him awfully, and if he gets frightened or misses a word or says a wrong one, don't they give it to him. What do they do to him? Asked Irene with a trembling voice. Don't go frightening the princess, said the nurse. The princess, repeated little Miner, taking off his curious cap. I beg your pardon, but you oughtn't be out so late. Everybody knows that's against the law. Yes, indeed it is, said the nurse, beginning to cry again, and I shall have to suffer for it. What does that matter, said the boy. It must be your fault. It is the princess who'll suffer for it. I hope they didn't hear you call her the princess. If they did, they're sure to know her again. They're awfully sharp. Ludi, Ludi, cried the princess, take me home. Don't go on like that, said the nurse to the boy, almost fiercely. How could I help it? I lost my way. You shouldn't have been out so late. You wouldn't have lost your way if you hadn't been frightened, said the boy. Come along. I'll soon set you right again. Shall I carry your little highness? Impertinence, murmured the nurse. But she did not say it out loud, for she thought if she made him angry, he might take his revenge by telling someone belonging to the house, and then it would be sure to come up in the king's ear. No, thank you, said Irene. I can walk very well, though I can't run so fast as Nursey. If you'll give me one hand, Ludi will give me another, and then I shall get on famously. They soon had her between them, holding a hand of each. Now, let's run, said the nurse. No, no, said the miner. That's the worst thing you can do. If you hadn't run before, you would not have lost your way, and if you run now, they will be after you in a moment. I don't want to run, said Irene. You don't think of me, said the nurse. Yes, I do, Ludi. The boy says they won't touch us if we don't run. Yes, but if they know at the house that I've kept you out so late, I shall be turned away, and that would break my heart. Turned away, Ludi? Who would turn you away? Your papa, child. But I'll tell him it was all my fault, and you know it was, Ludi. He won't mind that, I'm sure he won't. Then I'll cry and go down on my knees to him and beg him not to take away my dear Ludi. The nurse was comforted at hearing this, and said no more. They went on, walking pretty fast, but taking care not to run a step. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the new character we are introduced to in this chapter, Curdy, and something in particular that I like about him. And simply put, that is the confidence that Curdy has. His whole line about, they won't bother you as long as you're with me, is the confidence you wouldn't necessarily expect from a 12-year-old boy in the forest at night. And when Ludi challenges him and says, well, who are you? You know, that the goblins won't mind you. He doesn't seem at all bothered by this and simply states, I'm Peter's son. And in that moment, we see that his confidence is rooted in his father, someone who's clearly taught him these goblin tricks of the trade. And I think it's a beautiful thing, the confidence that he has in himself, the confidence that's rooted in his father, that he feels and knows himself to be safe simply because I'm Peter's son. And further, he doesn't seem to mind when Ludi is like, I don't know who Peter is, when she clearly doesn't understand the value and importance that he does in being Peter's son. For him, this doesn't matter because his confidence isn't in other people believing in him. It's simply in what he believes in his father. He then goes to say something very interesting. If you're not afraid of them, then they are afraid of you. And this goes into the next bit that I'd like to talk about. When he points out that the princess shouldn't be out, that it's against the law for her to be out at night, Ludi exclaims, well, how could I help it? I got lost. And he says, you wouldn't have lost your way if you hadn't been frightened. And what's interesting about this remark is that it's the same sort of solution he offered about the goblins earlier. For Curdy, you needn't worry about the goblins, needn't worry about getting lost, so long as you don't let fear take over. For a 12-year-old boy, he is keen in recognizing that it is fear when we let it drive us, that is the problem. And I think what is especially neat about this is that this very thing is something Princess Irene has been grappling with herself. Earlier, when she got lost in the castle hallways, just before she found her great-grandmother, Princess Irene learned how she can let fear drive her. And it's possible that although she's experienced firsthand what Curdie is talking about, it's possible that she hasn't just yet put it into words. For Princess Irene, listening to Curdie talk about this, putting into words what she has experienced, this interaction and conversation would be for the princess both affirming for what she's experienced and thought true, as well as solidifying what she has learned. And in that is something that I love that's exemplified in this chapter. That sometimes it's not enough to just experience something for yourself, to learn a lesson through trial and error, but that it's sometimes important to hear from somebody else that the thing you found to be true has also been true for them. To have somebody put into words your experience is sometimes the thing that helps you really, truly learn from it. I love that in this chapter with 2 children and a full-grown woman, it is from the children this highly mature conversation around fear happens. For the children reading the story or being told this story, there has to be some measure of comfort and triumphant in feeling it is not the adult present, but the children present, who are grappling with issues of fear in a better way. As always, I hope whatever you've been drinking has been good, that the conversation and story have been a fair match. Cheers and and today we are going to be tossing books in the air. Haha. One more time. Goblins out there, so you better sing loud and clear and don't miss a beat, 'cause they'll get you.